This is Eric from Pack Hacker, and today we're taking a look at the Patagonia Guidewater Backpack 29 liter, which I've been testing for the past 2 weeks. If you find this video helpful, make sure you subscribe so we can continue making content like this to help you travel smarter. Let's dive in. So the primary pack material that we're working with here is a 14.4 ounce recycled nylon plain weave, and that has a PU face coating and then a TPU coating on high wear areas. So this is a waterproof material. Water is not getting through this material at all, and we've tested that. It has not gotten through in any of our testing. And it's kind of hard to work with at times, like when you're kind of manipulating it to put things inside the bag. It doesn't have much give, and you're not gonna get any stretch out of it, so you can't really, stretch extra gear inside of here. But I think that's a good trade-off for, obviously, the waterproofness you get out of it. So at the time of recording, this is the salvia green colorway, and there's also a pigeon blue colorway. Both kind of pastel-y, but I think they look comfortable in the city or also on the trail or on the river. So I really dig the blue one, but we have the salvia green here in the office. The main compartment zipper is from YKK. It's got this big T-zip on it, and that helps you open and close it because this is a waterproof zipper, so it is hard to open and close. But there are a lot of attachment loops, as you just saw, to help you open and close it. So there is a little, I don't want to call it a garage, but this little final area is kind of hard to get in and out of, and that's because it's like the area where water would most likely leak. So you really got to make sure you get it all the way inside there, otherwise water could leak through that little hole there. So this pack does have an IPX7 rating, which means I believe it can go into up to a meter of water for up to 30 minutes. So obviously you're not going to go scuba diving with this thing. It's got air in it, so it's going to make you float anyways. But it is, if you drop it in the water, it's going to be okay, and it was okay. We've tested that. And if you're caught in the rain, no problem at all, because obviously that's not submersion. We have on the back side here Duraflex hardware. Nothing to really complain about. It's snappy, it's easy to use, it won't get in your way, and that's what really matters. All around the pack, as I already kind of mentioned, we have these attachment loops in various. This is a rod tube holder that comes with the pack, so if you have a fly rod or something like that, you can attach it on here. You can also attach trekking poles, or really anything. You might even be able to do like an ice pick on here or something like that. You just tighten it up by adjusting this little hard plastic adjuster. Easy to use. And then last but not least, we have this top handle up here. It's not padded or aerated or anything like that, but it doesn't really hold water, so you could soak this thing in water for that 30 minutes like the IPX rating, and this thing's not really gonna hold water and be heavy, and a lot of the other external components are like that as well, which we're about to get into. So the materials we're working with on the harness system here are a 4.5 ounce recycled polyester and then hydrophobic mono mesh, which sounds really cool, and it works really well, so let's get into it. This, although it looks, it's got padding and it's a little bit breathable, but not super breathable. And it looks like it would, hold water, but in testing, getting this thing wet, it doesn't, which is huge because there's nothing worse than carrying around a wet backpack and it gets you wet, and just being wet and walking or hiking is just not ideal. So the fact that this doesn't hold water is huge, especially for a backpack that's meant to get wet. So a fair amount of padding back here. It doesn't breathe super well, so it does get a bit warm, but I think it's a lot better than most of the other dry bags and waterproof backpacks that we've tested. So it's got that going for it. These shoulder straps, as you can see, have a bit of curvature here, which make them comfortable. That same material, so these aren't going to hold water. And we've got a D-ring on the top here, a little attachment loop there, and then also we have the sternum strap here. So this is a bunch of different, I think it's 5 different loops here that you can put it on to make micro adjustments, or just take it completely off if you don't want to use it. And you can also use these loops to attach gear to as well. Coming down here, we've got buckles on the bottom, so you can attach, this around something to make sure the bag doesn't float away or something like that. You can attach it inside your boat in case something happens to your boat. And then on the bottom, we've got a hip belt. There's no padding or aeration or anything on this hip belt, so it can be a little bit uncomfortable, but you can also remove it if you don't want it. And I found that it really does help shift around weight and make your pack out more comfortable. So I've got the pack on now, and I'm all ready to go on a hike or walk through a new city or something like that. As you can see, the hip belt and the sternum strap both engaged right now. And I don't think you can really see it, but they are kind of shifting the weight around, making it more comfortable. And something I forgot to note in the last section is that there are these strap keepers here, so these straps aren't just kind of flailing around, would be kind of annoying if you're walking around or you're hiking or something like that. Overall, very comfortable to wear. It does feel a little bit tight for me up here near the top, and that doesn't, no matter how I kind of adjust it, it kind of still is a little bit tight. Not uncomfortably so, but I can just kind of feel it. Sorry if I just hit the mic there. But overall, very happy with the comfort of this pack. It does get a little bit warm, as I mentioned, especially if it's a really hot day. But because these colorways are kind of more pastel-y, they don't really absorb heat so much. And if it were darker, you might have more of an issue with it heating up and then making you sweat and getting you warmer, etc. Moving into the main compartment, you'll notice there are no secondary compartments, so we're jumping right in. I'm going to use the attachment loops, as I mentioned earlier, to kind of yank this thing open. And as you can see, the zipper, I'm upside down right now. As you can see, the zippers go to about halfway down the pack, maybe a little bit less. You can kind of fold it open to get a good access. And if you have things attached on here and you're having the pack set up, it'll kind of do that on its own a little bit. Just depends if you have gear attached on these attachment loops. But moving inside, I'm going to start pulling some of the stuff I have out of there just so you can get a better look at all of it. Shift it over. Got a tech pouch, a toiletry kit, a packable rain jacket, and then packing cubes full of clothing. Large packing cube, maybe XL depending on how you look at it, small or medium, and small or medium. And I had room to spare, so at a pretty big backpack here, you can fit a lot of gear in here. Obviously, that's kind of silly of me to say. But there isn't much organization inside of here, and that's typically because the more stitching and the more places you attach things, the more places there are for water to come inside. So anywhere that there's an attachment loop on the outside, you can see we have these extra materials here that are, I believe, RF welded onto the pack here to make sure no water can get inside. So the more that they were to add, the more they would have to add that, and just more points for water to get in eventually. So there's not a ton going on here. So we've got this panel here, which I've been kind of calling an admin panel, and it, as you can see, I'm going to grab my things so they don't fall. It flaps up like this, and it actually is removable, so you can just pull it out like this. And I will take that off so you can get a better look at it. Slide it out of there. So this is the panel. It's got two of these stretchy mesh pockets that are pretty easy to use. I wish there maybe there's one that's a little smaller, a little bit tighter, because my phone kind of just slides in and out of there a little bit easier. But if I don't want to put my phone in there or my wallet in the other one, there is a zippered compartment here, so I can put my put it in there and it's closed. And then I have this little key clip here as well. So if you don't want to use this on the inside of the pack, you can take it out, or you can also attach it. It fits perfectly here on the outside as well. So if you're out fishing or something like that and you want to put a fly box in here or like a little mini tackle box with lures in it, you can do that. Or if you want to put other gear on the outside, you can, or just get rid of it and you don't have to use it if you don't want to. But I will say, if you get rid of it, there's no really organization inside of here for gear that isn't a laptop or notebook or something like that. So as you can see, we have another stretchy mesh pocket here. And I have actually an iPad. Let me pull it out of there, inside of there. And then our 3D printed model of a 13-inch, make sure, yep, 13-inch MacBook Pro. So that fits in there, no problem. Let me get some of this stuff out of the way so we're not so cluttered here. So you can fit a laptop inside of here, but I should mention there is no padding on this. I mean, you can see my fingers poking through there. There's no padding on this side of that. So I wouldn't do that unless you had to. While I was testing this pack, used my laptop inside of a laptop sleeve inside of here. So that's another way to protect your laptop. You could also just put a book in here, a notebook in here. If you have some maps of rivers and stuff like that for fishing, you could shove them in here as well. It's just a nice place for flat items to kind of, get out of the hubbub of this main compartment. I'll pull this up so you can see when I pull it, it does pull pretty far. That mesh is pretty elasticy, so you can stuff things, like you could put this packing cube in there if you want to make sure that doesn't move. But I found that it packs better if you put your flat items here, like maybe documents, maybe your laptop if you want to bring it, and then stack the other stuff on top of it. But whatever works for me might not work for you, so I'm curious to hear how you guys pack this thing. Looking into the bottom, there is no more organization. So as you saw, pretty much everything I had packed in here, packing cubes, different things like this, were contained into organizers and packing cubes and stuff like that, which makes it a lot easier to find things, because although it is another layer of, material to get to your item, if you just had your phone charger loose in here, it would be kind of hard to find it. But this is a lot easier to find because it's pretty big, and I know exactly where my phone charger is inside of here. So using these organization tools makes getting inside of here easier. But overall, I was very happy with how this performed. And I, took it out into the outdoors and took it fishing, and it worked well for that. But I also used it coming to and from work every day and just for my daily backpack, and it performed pretty well. You kind of have to get used to using those organizers because there isn't that internal organization, and get used to this big beefy zipper and closing it up all the way. But if you can get used to those two things, this thing performs really well. It's durable, and your gear is not going to get wet. So there you have it, the Patagonia Guidewater 29-liter backpack. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel. We'll see you in the next one.